I think there's a whole bunch of BlackRock corporate executives or dark suits sitting with literal strings on Biden and pulling him every step of the way as he moves. But that's just my own perspective and opinion. But I also wanted to add, I think this concept of civil unrest, of a civil war, it's not a crazy one. Newsweek had a very important article today, and they were talking about how civil unrest historically is the norm after pandemics, and they talked to two political scientists, and they said between the 1300s Black Death and the 1918 Spanish flu, there were 57 pandemics, and there was only 4 cases of them that didn't result in a revolt or large-scale protest afterwards. And they actually announced a number of times.
Yeah, the cops just walked in.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Should we? Yeah, that I was looking at my notes and I was like,
did somebody swat you?
Yep, somebody swatted us.
Did they really?
Us?
Yep, somebody swatted us. So that's
How do you know?
What that
How do you
was.
know?
I have somebody texting me.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so Tim's going to
Wow.
take care of
So,
business.
yeah, just a police officer
stole
entered
it in.
here, looked around because it looks like someone swatted this live broadcast here.
Glad they didn't come in here busting, man.
I'm glad, yeah, man.
I mean, that's something that's extremely dangerous, extremely reckless, because, you know, SWAT incidences have led to a lot of innocent people dying.
Death.
Dogs being shot, people thinking that their house is being raided by criminals defending themselves. So whoever did that and they're listening, like,
yeah, those things, you know, and it's a healthy penalty if you get caught swatting. That's a felony crime, and you can spend years in jail over it because the inherent risk. If a police officer, you know, believes that
swatted, it's confirmed.
If the police officer believes that there's who knows what they said, you know, they could have said somebody is screaming for help,
kidnapped. Someone's kidnapped here. We need to send in
just
police
say.
officers.
And I heard a boom.
Yeah,
I don't know if you
opened that door loud.
They hit. So what if we were in here, you know, and we saw them and we pulled the trigger on them?
Yeah.
And now we're in a shootout with the police. You can get them hurt. We can get hurt. You know, it's crazy.
Did that happen to you while you were on the force?
No,
Guys,
we never got caught on
I'm
that.
gonna tell you guys what just happened. I just walked out of the room. The cops walked in. They walked around with flashlights. We've been swatted. I am extremely unhappy with this because I can't necessarily be mad at the officers. They were very polite, but I do not like cops coming into my house when we have mats all over the place. They come back with a warrant.
Yeah.
And I don't know who let them in or why.
Yeah, what happened?
I understand they're here because we got swatted. A report was made that 2 people had been shot and killed, and that the gunman was threatening to hurt themselves. They didn't send a SWAT team. It was just a couple of officers. I don't want to drag them or be mean to them because they were polite. But I'm not happy with the idea that they're walking into our studio while we are live. They're walking around. Cop immediately, I walked out of the room. He immediately came up and said, "I'm really, really sorry about this. We're not trying to, screw with you or ruin what you're doing. Here's what happened. We got a call. 2 people had been shot and killed, and a person was going to be killing themselves. We have to check it out, make sure everything's okay. We're going to be doing a sweep once we figure it out." And I'm just like, come back with a warrant.
But I have to say, this is what I have to say. I don't think that they believe that was 100% true. There's no way on planet Earth that only 2 officers would show up to a
shooting,
double homicide with a barricaded subject.
Yeah, tell them to leave and like.
Well, then let me just explain this from a police perspective as well. Is that if the police do a swatting call, right, and it's found to be illegitimate,
right?
They, any evidence that they think they may have or is suppressed because this was an illegitimate entry into a house. You can enter under exigent circumstances, but if it's an illegitimate exigent circumstance, there's no searching for evidence and different things like that. So I get it, but as a cop, I see how you can't just not do anything.
What's the exigent circumstance?
Exigent?
Exigent.
What's
that? Exigent circumstance, meaning that it's a
circumstance
circumstance in which you have to do it in a hurry. It's a right now thing.
Right.
That means that right now I have to act.
Emergency.
It's an emergency.
I think this to me is like highlights the value of local police, because when I was in Chile, I noticed it was all national cops everywhere. They all have like uniforms standing on the corner. If you get a call like this and it's only national cops, you got no one's going to be there to defend
like
you.
what's happening
At
right
least
now.
You know your neighbors.
What's happening right now doesn't make sense. Like if I'm a cop and I'm hearing active shooting, guy with a gun shot 2 people. I'm not going to walk in here without a SWAT team, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, it depends, right? You got to think of, like I said, exigent circumstances. Police officers have a duty to respond immediately.
Right.
A SWAT team takes a while to assemble. I was on a SWAT team, and we had about an hour. If it was a full call out, a hostage situation, we still had to have enough time for everybody on the team to get their equipment and get to the location. And we had to get together to a certain degree to try to figure out what tactics we're going to use. So it takes time. If there was a real call of 2 people shot, a man with a gun, they have to respond now.
Right.
And if those 2 officers are the only ones in the area, they have to come now. And they have to force entry, and they have to make sure everything's okay. That speaks to the bravery of law enforcement officers, because what if there was a situation like that and they were the only 2 here, and they were going to risk their lives potentially getting mowed down, shot and killed, ambushed.
Right.
But they had to respond anyway because there was potential loss of life that they had to rescue.
I've been hearing lately that cops don't have to respond.
Well, the Supreme Court has ruled many times if a police officer sees a crime happening, they do not have to intervene.
That's an argument. That's an
Welcome
argument.
back.
That's an argument in the
news.
Supreme Court. That's not an argument that happens on the scene.
I got news.
Oh, what's the news?
They entered in direct. Okay, hold on. I was just running around. When they came to the door, they were told you may not enter without a warrant. They said we're entering anyway.
Oh.
Wow.
Which is lawful.
Exigent circumstances.
Right.
We can enter your property and search the premises.
Right, which is what I said.
I told them, with respect, officers, I would like you to leave unless you have a warrant. And they said, we get it, we get it. We swept the house, we're leaving.
But
I don't trust it.
No, but that's the way. No,
they
this
didn't
is
want to be here.
This is the way it's supposed to happen, right? And you're right by saying, "Hey, are you guys done? You need to leave." The police officers have to check because if they show up here and there's a dead body in the room somewhere, because somebody, just say if somebody in the house called and said called it in, but they actually did something to themselves, and the cops just showed up and said, "Oh, there's nothing there." The next morning, there's a dead person in the house. Who's going to be held liable? So a quick sweep is reasonable, and then they have to leave.
For future reference,
Yes.
cops ever walk in like that, put on the room cam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Well, it takes me a minute to switch it over, but yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Or whatever
I was just like, I
camera
know
shows
what to
them.
do.
So Brandon was talking, and the cops are like walking around with flashlights, and I'm like,
I saw all their faces too. Everyone
And-
looked. I was
yeah,
like,
and-
what's
and-
everyone looking at?
the one cop, he like waves over to me, and I'm like, no.
I'm like recording.
I thought
we're live. What are you doing?
I
Join the
thought he
show,
was a
man.
friend of yours. I thought he knew you.
Oh,
I
no.
thought he was coming to the show because I saw the door, but I'm like, who's coming in during the podcast?
going on?
Well, I feel bad. They were being nice, and I understand like someone calls in and says people are dead.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's go check it out. And their mentality is like, we're going to be protecting Tim and his house and everything.
With our lives, and we don't know
Right.
what's happening.
Yeah,
You see, it was only 2 of them.
There were 3.
Oh,
No,
three.
there were like 4 or 5
Oh,
guys.
4 or 5,
Okay.
which is good.
Because that was the upstairs
Good,
guys.
good.
But when you brought up like, there's no way they wouldn't come with gear, they wouldn't be prepared. I think when they got here and realized everything was looking normal, they were like, okay, let's just do a check, but it seems like a swatting, right? The
Yeah,
problem I have with
true.
it is, I don't want to blame the guy, because there's the circumstance of, what if someone got killed? What
Right,
if they're
exactly.
really in trouble? But then the problem is, what if they can just use exigent circumstances as a pretext to come into my house? We have doormats at every door that's come back with a warrant.
That's not a joke.
So Allison, who was downstairs, they come to the door and says, you cannot come in without a warrant. And they said, we are coming in anyway. We have exigent circumstances. And then I was like, because when they walked in here, I'm like, who let them in?
Yeah, of course. First
No, they
thought.
let themselves in.
Yeah, but you got to understand too is that they can't come here and do a search. You know what I'm saying? They supposed to be searching for dead bodies in a crime. They come in, there's no crime, they leave.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't go snooping around.
Yeah, I
They
guess
can't
they're
go looking in
leaving
the
now.
rooms.
Exigent
They
circumstance.
can't exigent circumstance. They will have to articulate that I went to this room. I saw the guy had a body worn camera. They can only go here, and leave. They can't go snooping around your property.
What if they see something illegal when they walk around?
Well,
for exigent?
well, this is the thing. Like, if this was a real call and there was a real incident that occurred, and they had to come in the house and they saw a bale of drugs here, they have that. That's in plain sight.
Oh.
They can actually come here and get the drugs and charge somebody with it.
What if it's an exigent call and they see?
It's the same thing. It's in plain view.
That's why
They can see
I'm
it.
calling BS.
However,
Now, we don't do anything like that here.
Yeah,
This
but
isn't
however,
normal
if it's a swatting None of that. I don't think any of that will hold up in the court of law. If it's a fake call to somebody's house and the police were here and then they see something, I don't think it'll hold up in the court of law.
Are they going hard on this guy that swatted?
Yeah, that's a felony crime. You can do like 20 years in prison for swatting. It's a very serious crime.
I don't look, man. I said it was 2022. I'm like, they are going to be going hard against everybody. You're going to be harassed. You're going to be censored. You're going to be smeared. But
I don't think the cops were involved. I think somebody just swatted.
Right, exactly.
Course, yeah.
No, I'm saying whoever swatted us. Like, that's the pressure they want to put in the house. But imagine, like what you were saying. There's a lot of people. What's that book? You commit 3 felonies a day or whatever.
Yeah.
So there, maybe someone here did something dumb, and then we get swatted, and the cops walk in. And they're like, "Oh, look, the cat's doing a backflip on Sunday.
Yeah.
That's illegal."
And
things like that.
And
They
just
can't
another
do that.
thing.
They
Just
have
another thing. Are phone calls exigent circumstances? Could they be ruled out just because someone called and said something?
Yeah, it just depends, man. Like when I was a police officer, we used to have these 911 hang-ups.
Yeah.
And those are the most dangerous calls because you don't know why a person hung up. If you get enough information and it's reasonable to believe that there could be something there, you have to check. Because you may get here and 2 people shot and killed in a house and a person barricading themselves is not going to make any noise.
Right.
And this house is confusing, so, somebody can be somewhere and not know they're.
I'll tell you, for people who don't know, this house is a maze. It's
Yeah,
like,
I don't know where I'm at.
Yeah.
it's not
mazier than it was before.
It's not the craziest, but it's funny how people get lost here, and I don't realize. I'm like, wow, they got lost.
They do
Dude,
get
I've been
lost.
here before and I don't know where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's 2 different studio rooms. There's like 5 floors. It's a ridiculous
Yeah.
building. There's a sub basement, a basement, a first, second, third floor. We have a new attic, and when you're going up to the studio, there's actually like a fork in the road, and people
Yeah.
usually go the wrong way and end up
Going.
in the
Yeah.
wrong room,
Yeah.
and then they get confused because it's too dark, and they're like, "Where's the light?"
Yeah.
But that's good for me because I was thinking about if someone broke in here. I was like, well, when we're going over our plan for our security protocols, because we've had these threats before, and I was, as I was going through it, I was like, wow, I just realized a person who comes in this house will get lost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because what people need to understand is there's a lot of people who are like, Tim's got a giant $1 million mansion, blah, blah. It's an office building. Like the second floor is a bunch of desks and computers for editing work. One of the bedrooms, it's an equipment room with shelves and a computer. And then there's an editing bay. And then there's a music studio. This is a place where people work, not a place where people live.
Right.
So that you're walking into a 10,000 square foot office building in the shape of a house, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And here's the silver lining in this. Now the police officers know who you are. Hopefully you have a conversation with them. They know what you do for a living. And now if they get another call, they're like, okay,
Track
slow
that
down.
number.
Let me call.
Yes.
Because you
Right.
can give them your phone number. They'll call you and say, hey, we got a call. Is everything okay there? And you're like, yeah, they it's no big deal. Another thing I think would be good is to put cameras in here so you can see what's going on.
Well, we do.
Well,
So here,
Yeah,
can you
cameras.
switch to the room camera real quick?
Yeah, hold on, let me change it over.
So we've actually we've got a PTZ camera that can basically sweep the whole room. It's actually pretty good. Look at this. So that's why we didn't. I wish we had it ready to go.
time.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I think if we knew,
was
like
frozen.
no one expected cops to
Right.
walk into the studio, but for future reference, we see someone. Let's get the camera on.
I
you know
have
what
to
mean?
say they did a pretty decent job, man.
They're really
Nobody
quiet.
pulled a gun.
Yeah.
When I was a cop and we searched houses, we had our guns out, and we were, it was way more intense than that. But maybe they caught on to say, oh, this is nothing going on here.
Well, we're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So when you're in a city and you're in a house with 50 houses and hundreds of people, those cops are probably like, if this person's armed, they could hurt their neighbors. We're out in the middle of nowhere. Literally, like, it's just trees everywhere. The cops here are probably like, well, if they are locked in their house, they ain't going anywhere. There's nobody around them. So we'll get there as fast as we can and we'll check it out. It's less of a dire circumstance as opposed to being in a dense population.
Yeah, somebody must have called as if they were in the house because
That's what he said.
Because if it's an external person that don't have current information in the house, it's not safe for cops to just bombard in. It's better for them to make announcements and hostage negotiate and stuff like that. But unless somebody's bleeding out, and then you got that whole thing. But
Whoever did it wanted it to happen during the show.
Wanted attention too.
That's what they
and
always
wanted
do.
to send a message, obviously.
But it's
And they're probably watching, going like, haha, we did it.
but they didn't do anything, and if they get found, they're gonna go to prison.
Yep.
It's a felony crime.
I have a feeling that they won't be found. That's just my personal perspective.
Dude,
but
it's
might.
so
They
easy
might.
to spoof. It's like,
yeah.
They might.
Yeah,
You never
man.
know.
Just
With
Ian.
technology, the way the technology is today, They got
Well, the NSA knows everything, but they don't share everything unless
Yeah.
it works in their personal benefit.
right.
Plus,
Yeah.
it's January 6th. I'm like, who knows
Yeah.
what lies, what manipulations. But I'm just saying, 2022, man. The censorship, the smears, the swatting, the fear tactics. The establishment does not want. And I'll say, I keep telling people, vote in the primaries.
Oh, you have to local and in the primary.
But that is the scariest thing because that's their secret. The Republicans and the Democrats know that their worst case scenario for the most part is even if they vote for the other party, we are winning the primaries and the establishment will still be in power. So when we come out on our shows, your show, our show, whatever show, and we say vote in the primaries, they're like, oh, that's the secret. That's where you actually can get rid of the neocons and the neolibs.
That's where it change over. You don't have to wait 4 years. You can get them in the primary and make sure you vote local. You know, a lot of people are so worried about these federal elections that the leftists are taking over in local elections. They're taking over the school board. They're taking over all of these local elections, city council, and they're running the city from within. You may have a Republican senator, but the state level politicians are all Democrats. And so then when election time comes around and things like that, who's monitoring that? It's going to be the people that's on the state level. And so I think that we need to vote in and out of season. Like, you have to vote. You have to get involved. You have to be a part of the process. You know, me and my wife, we made it a promise this year that we're going to be more a part of the process. We can't just sit back and just talk. We got to know what's going on. We got to endorse the right candidates. We have to support candidates, fund them if we can. We have to be active or we're going to get steamrolled.
Just really quick, because a lot of people are asking in the comment section, everyone's fine, everyone's safe. I'm talking to people on the house on the phone. Every animal's safe. Nothing happened. Luckily, we were able to avoid anyone getting seriously hurt. So we were very lucky, and everyone's okay and everyone's safe. But
I was, after you mentioned, like, why would they just come two guys? I was like, I need to go tell them to get out. Like, cause they were, when I talked to them, they were like, we're going to go or whatever. And then I thought, no, I need to see them out the door. I need to make sure that I say to them, I don't want them here. I don't approve of them being here. I don't approve of any searches. And they didn't do any extensive kind of searching. They just walked through the house and walked out. And then when I went down, I was like, who let them in? And people were like, no, actually, we denied them entry. And so I'm like, all right, I think we did the best we could do in the circumstances.
Kind of feels like an inoculation. Like they're like, okay, we know Tim. They know us. Some of the cops watch the show in the town.
They said that?
I've been told. Andreas told me once that one of the cops, he met a cop and he was like, yeah, I watched the show. It's awesome.
I think they're familiar.
Yeah, they know that that there's going to be efforty.
This is the challenge. This is the challenge with cops. I feel I empathize with them, especially if they're keeping us safe. In the event some lunatic could actually come here and then make that phone call, and they're going to be like, what if it literally is some crazy psychopath wants to go and screw up the show and hurt people?
Right.
We need their help.
We do, yeah.
So the one time they do come in, I don't want to be the boy who cried wolf. Next time something bad happens, I'm like, guys, no, for real, this is me and this is happening. They're going to be like, yeah. We're not falling for that again.
And you don't want to be a jerk to them.
I don't want that to happen.
And you don't want to be a jerk to them either. I think that wouldn't matter. They'll still save your life. But you don't want to be a jerk to them. Communication is the best thing.
That's the hard thing.
I think communication is the best thing. I would, have an opportunity to get the officer's badge number, get communication with the officers, and set up a contingency plan and say, look, this is what we do here. This is where I'm located. If we have an incident,
could we have a secret code where, like, if we call something in, we know a certain passphrase?
I mean,
look.
It's hard to get through the dispatch like that, but they could put, like, because you're on our system, and I think the system is probably generally the same across the board. Your address has a flag on it, right? So in the system, it'll say that this house was swatted. They could write that down in the system. They could say this person is a podcaster. They can have a special note for this address. So therefore, when a call comes in to the dispatch runs the address, and the address has a flag on it. And they go, okay, they'll tell the officers, this person is a podcaster. We've been there before for swatting. Here's the person's phone number. So an officer can try to contact here first before they show up and it becomes violent. If they contact the contact here and you say, no, it's real deal, like we need your help, it's better to have relationships with police than to leave it up to chance, because it could go south and you don't want to be on the opposite.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Now, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. all of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about. So you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.